Osun 2026, APC's Omowaye deepens attack on Adeleke over missing 1 trillion naira. The renewed offensive from the Osun State chapter of the All Progressive Congress against Governor Ademola Adeleke has continued to gather steam, with the party's campaign structures pressing the claim that close to 1 trillion naira in state revenue over the past 3.5 years has produced little the average resident can point to. Engineer Oluremi Omowaye, who speaks for the Osun APC Governorship Campaign Council, has become one of the most persistent voices in this campaign, repeatedly stepping forward with fresh statements that widen the scope of the party's grievances rather than simply repeating the original allocation figure. What began as a broad complaint about missing public transport, stalled housing schemes, and an absence of new teacher recruitment has over recent months hardened into a series of specific itemized allegations. Omowaye and his colleagues on the campaign council have pointed to flyover projects in Osogbo that they say were badly executed and awarded through opaque variations running into billions of naira, to security vote spending that they argue was not properly accounted for, and to a payroll system they claim continues to carry thousands of workers who no longer exist. Each new claim has been presented as further proof of the party's core argument that the money flowing into Osun's treasury has not translated into infrastructure, jobs, or services that ordinary residents can feel. The party has not limited its criticism to figures and contracts. Its statements have taken aim at the governor's personal conduct in office, from his public appearances and social engagements to a widely discussed donation to a church in Lagos and the rehabilitation of a shrine in his hometown. APC officials have argued that this pattern of spending, set against a backdrop of unresolved workers' welfare issues and an unresolved minimum wage question, illustrates a mismatch between the state's priorities and the needs of its people. The party has gone further still, suggesting that anti-corruption agents ought to take a closer look at the administration's finances once Adeleke's constitutional immunity lapses at the end of his term.
The Osun State Government has not let these accusations go unanswered. Governor Adeleke spokesperson, Malam Olawale Rashid, has repeatedly dismissed the trillion naira figure as a fabrication designed to distract from what the administration considers a strong record, insisting that the state never received anywhere near that sum since 2022. In response to the APC's claims, the government has pointed to its own list of achievements: the clearing of half-salary arrears inherited from the previous administration, regular pension payments, the enrollment of tens of thousands of pensioners into a state health insurance scheme that officials say has since been studied at the federal level, and a reported reduction in the state's debt stock. Rashid has framed the opposition's campaign as an attempt to unsettle a government that has managed its resources with discipline, and has suggested that the timing of each fresh allegation is tied less to genuine concern than to positioning ahead of the next governorship contest. That electoral backdrop is impossible to separate from the intensity of the exchanges, with Osun's political class already maneuvering ahead of the 2026 governorship race. Both sides appeal to be treating every statement as an opportunity to shape public perception well before campaign season formally begins. For the APC, repetition has become a deliberate strategy. Raising the same set of figures around symbolic moments, including the governor's birthday, ensures the allegations stay in circulation and forces the government to keep responding. For the Adeleke camp, each rebuttal is an attempt to draw a line under the story before it hardens into a settled narrative in the minds of voters. Beyond the headline figures, the disagreement over the Osogbo flyover has emerged as a particularly pointed flashpoint. The APC Campaign Council's claim that the newly commissioned Lameko flyover was already showing signs of structural distress within weeks of opening has raised the stakes of the argument, shifting it from an abstract question of how money was spent to a concrete, visible concern about public safety. The party has called for an independent assessment of the structure and for the flyover to be closed pending that review, a demand the state government has yet to formally address in detail. Engineers and residents in Osogbo have reportedly taken note of the cracks and potholes cited in the APC statement, even as officials maintain that due process was followed in the project's execution.
Similarly, the unresolved questions around Amotekun security funding have added a new dimension to the dispute. The campaign council's allegation that operatives of the state security outfit were deployed to a private business facility outside Osun, reportedly linked to the governor's family, touches on matters of accountability that go beyond ordinary budget criticism. The state government's slower response on this particular claim, compared with its swift pushback on the trillion naira figure, has itself become a talking point among observers who are watching how selectively the administration chooses to engage with different strands of the opposition's case. As the allegations accumulate, the debate in Osun has increasingly split into two competing narratives that leave little room for a shared set of facts. The APC's version presents an administration long on public spectacle and short on measurable outcomes, one that has funneled disproportionate benefit toward the governor's hometown and inner circle, while basic services lag behind. The government's version presents a party that lost power and has since resorted to inflated figures and manufactured outrage because it lacks a credible alternative message to offer voters. Independent verification of the underlying numbers, particularly the true scale of federal allocations to the state and how they were spent, has been difficult to come by outside the dueling press statements, and neither side has yet produced the kind of detailed, audited breakdown that would allow residents to judge the competing claims on their merits. What is clear is that the frequency of these exchanges show no sign of slowing as the state moves closer to its next governorship contest. Each new statement from Omowaye's campaign council draws a matching response from Rashid's office within days, and each fresh news cycle adds another data point to what has become an ongoing, almost serialized argument over Adeleke's record. Whether that argument ultimately sways undecided voters or simply hardens positions that were already fixed is likely to become clearer only as the 2026 race takes shape and both camps are forced to move from accusation and rebuttal toward the harder work of persuading an electorate that has by now heard both sides make their case many times over.